Hello and thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to look at painting snow in watercolour. I did a video the other week that you might have seen, and one or two people have asked me if I could go in a little bit more depth about what colours I used. I used a very limited palette and just used the white of the paper to give the impression of snow. So I'll get on now and show you how I did that. And if you do want to see the other video, then I'll pop the link up here to that one as well. Okay, so to begin with, I did a very simple drawing in ink. This is completely imaginary. I think it's good sometimes for you to not rely too much on photographs, just do something from your imagination. So I've got some mountains in the distance, a few bits of shrubby trees in the foreground, and that's it, just a few simple lines, completely imaginary. And I used the Winsor & Newton black Indian ink, and I use a dip pen. Now if you struggle to get nibs for your pens and you want some different ones so you can get some different widths of line and things, I actually bought quite a few offline auction sites, and you know, just old ones in various sizes. You can get them quite cheaply, so that's what I do, and I like using a dip pen. However, if you don't want to use a dip pen, you can use an ordinary drawing pen, but just make sure that the ink that you're using is water fast and light fast as well if you can. And if you've got some pens already and you're not sure, then get a piece of scrap paper and give them a test first. Just draw a few lines and run some water over them once they're dry to see how well they hold up to the water. Okay, so this is dry now, the ink on here, and I'm just going to add some water to that to wet the paper. So as you can see probably from the shine on that paper, it's not completely wet all over. It doesn't matter if a few bits are dry, because they could then become snow where the paper's dry there, so don't worry about that. It's just give it a little bit of a wash of water to begin with. Now I've made up just three colours. The first colour is cerulean blue with a little bit of alizarin crimson added, but not too much of the crimson. There's more blue in there than there is crimson. Cerulean blue on its own, and cerulean blue with a touch of ultramarine just to get it a little bit darker. So very, very simple colours. Now the thing with snow is you're not painting the snow really. It's a bit like when we talked about doing the water. There's an awful lot of reflections and shadows going on. So you need to think about it in those terms. Where the land is undulating, that will cause shadows, and the snow will cast shadows on itself. The clouds will cast shadows on the snow. There might be little objects protruding from the snow that you want to draw as well. But you know, so you're concentrating on just giving the impression of some shadows and some depth, but with this one keeping it quite simple. So for the sky, I'm just going to put some cerulean in the sky to begin with at the top. And because it's imaginary, it doesn't matter which direction the light's coming from. You can decide that yourself, where the shadows are going. Make a little bit of the ultramarine at the top to make it a little bit darker on that side. And then I'm going to put a tiny bit of the one with the red in down the bottom here. And just leave them to all merge in. A bit more of the red on this side. And then don't touch them again, just leave them and let them merge into each other. So as you can see, I'm working quite quickly. So we're imagining there's some snow on these tops. So we'll get the colour with the crimson in, and we'll pick out some of the shapes of these hills in the way that they're going. So we'll have the shadows coming down this side of these hills. And leave plenty of white paper in between. So just think about the shapes as you're moving your brush. So think that, well, that might be coming in that direction, and move your brush in the shape that you think that hill might be going. And then a touch of the ultramarine. Make some of these shadows darker in places. In that valley there, pretend there's a valley that could be quite dark. And then these will be casting shadows in this direction. Just follow some of these lines that you put in earlier with your pen. some of the ultramarine again and go a little bit darker. Don't forget that all these colours are going to dry a lot paler than they are now. So some imaginary shadows, perhaps the undulations in the ground where you think the snow might be casting shadows. So you can see just a couple of colours, how you can give that impression of a snowy landscape. Now, it doesn't actually look too pinky at the moment, but if you see where it's drying, you can see some of the pinks coming through now. You might like to add a little bit more pink to your paint than I have. I'll just put a bit more in the foreground, see if we can get that pink coming through there. It just warms it up a bit. Okay, but I think that's enough. If you do too much, you're going to lose the impression of snow. So just leave it to dry. You could always add some more detail once it's dry to the foreground if you like, but actually I think it's quite nice to leave it very simple like that. Okay, so any questions, if you just want to put those in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Like I said, the main thing is keep it simple, leave plenty of white paper, keep your colours simple, don't start adding lots and lots of colour. Think about where your light's coming from and make sure all your shadows are going in the right direction. But try making something imaginary. A couple of trees, some mountains, and just have a bit of a play around with it. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you, bye bye.